the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee. Today is July 16th, 2020. We are holding this meeting remotely according to the new standards set forth. And we have 2 items on our agenda. And before we begin, I want to make sure that I have everybody in attendance since I've been having some technical difficulties. So I have Pat, Seth, Mike, Jim, Abby, Karen, David, and Jessica present. Did I miss anyone for school committee members? It doesn't sound like it. Okay. The first item on our agenda is to vote for 8 slots, 8 school choice slots. Everyone received documentation, and Kevin, if you could just speak a little bit about this, please, for those that are watching at home that did not have the document explaining the reasoning why you were asking for these 8 additional slots.
Did you want me to read that document? I'm sorry. Another
that would be great if you read the document.
Sorry, I live near Barnes and it's hard to hear when an F-15 flies right over my house. Do you want me to read the document?
No problem.
Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Sorry about that. PVRS,
yes, please.
PVRS is requesting 8 more choice slots. PVRS is requesting 8 more school choice slots for the incoming 7th grade. As the principal, it's my goal to increase the student numbers at PVRS while maintaining the quality of education delivered to our students. During the summer, numbers in the schools fluctuate as students move in and out of the district. We have space to accommodate more students and their student interest to attend PVRS. It is important that we make these adjustments. Initially, we requested 8 school choice slots for 7th grade, and this was approved by the school committee. We created that request based on the number of incoming 7th graders, estimated number of tuition students from Vernon, and the estimated number of students that moved into the district from past years. We have filled 7 of the 8 school choice slots, and we currently have 3 more students requesting slots, of which 2 more have completed applications, and I believe we actually have more interest since I wrote this. Initially, we had 3 Vernon students that were interested, but only 2 completed applications and were accepted. We currently have a total of 52 students enrolled in 7th grade for the next year at Pioneer, and we are going to be running 3 sections of 7th grade classes, which would allow us to enroll about 60 students, giving us class averages estimated to be about 20 students per class. During our planning, we have used the Canon Design classroom layout calculator provided by DESE, and in the document I provided that sheet. And our middle school classes can safely handle about a 20 student average. And the only class we really need to address that only has about 18 students is our 7th and 8th grade science room. Increasing the school numbers from 8 already approved to 16 for the, increasing the school numbers from 8 already approved to a 16 total for the 2021 school year will be beneficial to our district and our school. We have to keep in mind that from 8th to 9th grade, about 15 to 20 of our students are switching over to Franklin Tech. It is important to increase and maintain our middle school numbers to maintain viable class sizes in our high school. I'm requesting this increase because it's beneficial to our district, and I know our numbers work with current staffing and classroom we have at Pioneer.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you reading that document.
Not a problem.
So in order to proceed, we would need a motion on the floor, a second, and if there was discussion, and then we could take a vote.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
I second, Karen.
If you can just say who it is before.
Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Seconds.
Are you making the second? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, the floor is open for discussion.
Kristen? Mike Townsley?
Yes.
My question is,
Go ahead.
I would like to have, the numbers for the whole school, which should have been sent out to us, I think, as part of documents. We got very poor documentation. Whenever there's a change to the school structure with classroom or students, I think we should get more than just a brief description on what the request is. I think that, looking at the original chart of the requests for the openings for the 2021 school year, I would have liked to seen the total number of kids for each grade, 7th through 12, because we voted on the chart that was presented to us prior to, that we voted on prior with the total of 30 kids for the openings. I'd like to know how many kids are in the school or going to be currently with the existing, and I think Kevin should have those numbers with him right now. The total number of students without these the additional students that he's requesting, because I think we need to know all the information to make decisions, and not having the information, especially after we voted on a total of 30 students. I'm not saying that the school can't handle it. What's the capabilities of Pioneer Middle School and high school student-wise? How many more kids can we take? We're selected one grade, 7th grade. What about the kids that's going from 8th to 9th? I want to know what's in 9th grade. How many kids are in 9th grade? And we don't have a chart that shows our student enrollment. We're only talking about 7th grade. I know that's what he's only looking for, but I'd like to see the big picture.
Kevin, do you have the ability to provide with at this time? Or John?
I only have records on what our current classes were as of March when they left, but I know Kevin has been working on scheduling and he has probably more up-to-date information on who's needing to go to Franklin County Tech as well as who the students are coming in because he's been working on scheduling. So I don't know that my March numbers would do any justice to what you guys are looking for.
And also a second part of my question or inquiry would be, what is the potential of unfunded liability if you takes more students in, as far as, IAs or anything like that? How are we affected there when we've already set our budget?
So
Mike, can you just repeat your question because you broke up?
Okay, the question was, how does this affect us budget-wise if we need IAs? I would think that's like an unfunded liability if you take more students in after we've set the budget, and you need to provide services to those students.
Okay, thanks.
You're on mute, I think, Kevin.
No, I'm not.
Kevin, would you be able to answer those questions?
I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
Can now.
Oh, I was gonna say I wasn't on mute. So, the reason we put forward for the 7th grade and not the other numbers is because we gave that to the school committee back when we made the initial request. The 7th grade numbers are to, as I said before, to increase our middle school numbers so that we can maintain a viable school, which is what I think the school committee would want to do. We have 62 kids in 8th grade, 38 kids in 9th grade, 49 kids in 10th grade, 25 kids in 11th grade, and 52 kids in 12th grade. As I said before, as far as the students that are coming in, A lot of those kids, the 52 includes the kids that were already accepted and acknowledge their acceptance. And this impact, as far as how we go through, we're not going to bring kids in that we can't handle within the means that we have, which is the way we've operated in the past too. So it's not going to impact us from an operating budget standpoint. So as I said, my goal as the principal, and I would hope the school committee has the same goal, is to grow Pioneer back up to numbers that it had in the past. That is my goal. And we have to look at the fact that we are always going to be losing students from 8th grade to 9th grade to tech schools. That's part of our community. It's really part of our school system. If we're bringing in, and we only have class sizes in the middle school of under 60, we're really going to decrease our high schools in the future.
I think Pat has a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
now
I can't see Pat. Pat, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I missed the numbers of 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, number one. And number two, is having our classes as filled as we might if we accept 8 new students. Is that going to make a difference with the COVID, the way things need to be figured out? COVID, I'm just a little anxious about that. I'm not sure that anybody really knows. I just don't want to back ourselves in a corner where we have no wiggle room.
So the class sizes of 7th grade is currently 52.
Okay.
The class sizes for 8th grade is 62, and the class sizes for 9th grade is 38. Did you need any other ones, or was that
Nope,
it?
I got those. I just didn't get the first 3.
So I hear those concerns 100%. The reality is, if we bring in 5 more students, that's probably going to, I would think that's probably going to be the max. When I talked to John initially, he said, why don't we just ask for 8? And that's what I put forward. We do have some students that are, I'm basically waiting to come in and be part of the school. I really don't think we're talking about a handful of students is going to impact us that much more than what we're looking at already.
Kristen, can I speak?
Can
Mike
I ask
Towns.
a question regarding? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Yep, go ahead.
My other question is, when we started looking at this, I'm not really opposed to having any more kids come in. I'm just looking at the bigger picture. I'm good with bringing the students in, but I like to look at the big picture. And I'd like to have a current chart of the students. And when students get added, the school committee should be updated on how many students are in that facility and by grade. The other thing that we had started looking at for possibly next year was the 6th grade move up. And you're talking about, adding kids to the middle school. So the 6th grade would be a big piece of that if it did go through. But unfortunately, communications regarding 6th grade, even though it might not happen till, or potentially could happen for the fall of the following year, but there has been absolutely no communication, not even a letter or email from you, Kevin, in regards to that 6th grade. And I had meetings with the side committee, or what do you want to call it? The part that I was chair of for that subcommittee off of that. And we were wondering, we had a meeting and then we never heard anything back from you after that fact. I'm kind of disappointed there. But 6th grade moving up, would help the elementary schools and allow more kids to be brought in pre-K, which in the long haul probably would help us at the middle school level, because you're going to have kids coming into the district early on. I know that's separate from what we're talking about now, but if you look at the big picture and you start kids into our system early and you maintain them all the way up through, you've got a better chance of having those kids that are school choiced in at that time and have them carry through. But I would like to get at least a school committee up to date with how many kids are in the facilities per grade on a continuous basis if it changes, and also a follow-up letter from you, Kevin, where we're at and what is going on, what happened with the sixth grade committee that we had met and started.
Well, first of all, this is a request about bringing in school choice students, not about the other issues that you're bringing up. I look at the big picture all the time as a principal. I am currently looking at all the numbers, and as we're going through and dealing with what we're dealing with on a regular basis, the amount of time and energy I'm putting in towards everything in the past week is insurmountable. And the more requests are basically unreasonable at this point. So right now, what's on the table is the request for the 7th grade and the increase in numbers. And that's what's on the table, and that's what should be on the discussion right now.
So, Kevin, I'm going to stop you right there. Kevin, so unfortunately, these are questions that need to be answered, or we need to have ongoing dialogue about. So we do need answers regarding what Mike had asked, so that this is part of our discussion, so that we can make an educated vote. So I'm asking you to please address the questions that Mike posed.
Regarding in which ones, which is directly related to bringing in more 7th grade students?
I'm asking you to follow up and provide information regarding, because Mike brought up requesting information regarding 6th grade. So if you could please address that question first, and where we're at with that 6th grade study.
Where we're at with the 6th grade study is, as I said in the initial thing, is the amount of time right now that we are spending on scheduling for students working with COVID is pretty much taking up most of the majority of my time. With what happened and where this was followed.
And then
this
regarding
is where we are
John, I'm going to put a request to you. So, John, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yep. Just to go back, I don't know.
Perfect.
Can you,
so what I'm going to ask as we move forward is that for this to be updated.
So
you're breaking up a little bit, but it could be on my end.
I think it's on your end. The school committee is updated, or can be, it should be monthly by Joanne with the enrollment numbers, but we can certainly.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Oh, sorry. Joanne, you updates the enrollment numbers monthly, so we can certainly email the school committee those numbers monthly. And as far as preschool, we have big preschool numbers, even with this COVID. I can go over that in a little bit, unless you want me to go over it now, what they look like in Northfield and Bernardston, because I agree we need to build our numbers at the base. I think the 6th grade study, Kevin, I'm sure will follow up with that, but everything did get put on hold with COVID-19. It's been overwhelming for all of us who are dealing with this and trying to put these plans together and deal with so many different contingencies. We will definitely, continue that study and look at that, because that's something that we want to continue with. I just feel that it's been just almost overwhelming, the amount of time that's been put in by all the administrators and staff who are also involved with the reopening and planning. But we'll certainly address that, because, as we move forward. So we can send you out the current enrollment numbers to the school committee, make sure that you get those monthly moving forward, and pick back up on the 6th grade study.
Yeah.
And then I can go over some of the preschool numbers, maybe at the end after these, if you want, or I can do it now, whatever you prefer.
John, can I just comment too real quick? I think the correlation that Mike is trying to get to between the adding more
Okay,
graders.
thanks, John. Yeah, as long as we can get a regular.
I think Kristen broke up, is whether or not the amount of staff that we would need would be any more moving the sixth grade up without adding seventh graders versus the sixth graders. And I think the answer to that would be no, because any of the teachers we would be moving up for the sixth grade would be the same whether or not we added seventh graders.
Right. The school choice slots for seventh grade would not require additional staffing. It just, they have the capacity to take 60 students, and we're at 52. So that's why the request for 8 more students came in, and we can accommodate them even with the COVID and the distancing.
I'll move the vote if you don't mind, if nobody has any other
thanks, John.
discussion.
Does anyone else have?
I have
any
another
questions,
question. This is
regarding. What'd you say?
Yep, this is Jess.
Go
Can you
ahead,
hear me?
Jess.
I have a question about what the numbers for seventh grade were last year. And just simply because I feel like I heard from
Yep,
the
I
middle
can hear
school
you.
teachers that they were feeling overwhelmed and weren't having enough prep time with the students that they had. And I could see that 20 could be capable. I did look at that graph. And I think that one of the things to note is that the specialty of our district is that we do the heterogeneous classrooms. And so it is a little more challenging, I think, to teach to all of the different levels of kids that are in there. So I just would reach out and ask that the teachers have been talked to about those numbers and that they can handle that load and that they can be supported with that load if that's more than, especially if that's more than what they were handling last year.
Last year there was 60 kids.
Every conversation that I've had within the teachers have been involved in the scheduling aspect, probably more than they've been involved in the scheduling aspect in the past. I've been in constant contact with them and through interviews. The reality is we were looking maybe initially at only running 5 total middle school classes between 7th and 8th grade, 3 and 8th and 2 and 7th. And as I've gone through the scheduling, I've looked at it and we can actually utilize it with utilizing high school teachers. Again, making it so that students, we now have 3 7th and 3 8th, which is why we can make this happen.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I did hear at one of the meetings, some of the middle school teachers also saying that I think that could work, but I did hear concerns of using the high school teachers if they weren't specially trained in middle school topics. So not topics, but with that group of kids.
And I did adjust which teachers are actually working with the middle school students. So those conversations.
Thanks.
That.
Somebody's phone?
I think vibrating. Are there any other questions before we bring this to a vote? Okay, no one has spoken up, so let's bring this to a vote, and I'll just go down the list of our from our attendance. If you could just say your name and what your vote is. So Pat?
You're muted, Pat.
Pat, are you there?
I am there, but I'm not talking loud. Pat Sheeran, no.
Okay, we'll come back to Pat. Seth?
Seth Kratz, yes.
That's your no?
Yes.
Okay. Seth?
Seth Kratz, yes.
Mike,
Mike Townsley, yes.
Mike,
Mike Townsley, yes.
Jim.
Tim Bell, yes.
Thank you, Mike. Jim,
Tim Bell, yes.
Abby. Thanks, Jim.
Abby Pratt,
Abby?
yes. Yes, Abby Pratt.
I'm sorry, Abby, I didn't hear you.
Abby Pratt, yes.
Thank you. I heard you that time. Karen,
Karen O'Neill, yes.
David,
David Young, yes.
Jessica,
Jessica Marshall, yes.
and Kristen Gonzalez. My vote is no. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yes, and 2 no. So the vote passes to allow for the 8 slots. The next item on our agenda is the Northfield Elementary School start time change. John and Megan, if you could both speak to that, please.
Sure. We're just looking, right now, Bernardston Elementary School starts at 8:50 a.m. Northfield Elementary School starts at 8:55. They both end at 3:10 in the afternoon, and we're just looking to adjust the Northfield Elementary School time by 5 minutes to start at 8:50. So it's just consistent with the other elementary school in our district of 8:50. So that's really it, just to line those two schools up. So
I'll move that they be made the same time start.
I'll
Mike
second.
Townsley.
This is Jess.
Ed Sheeran, second.
Thanks, Mike. Is there a second?
Ed Sheeran, second.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have Jess and Pat with the second. Is there any discussion?
What am I voting on again?
Thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, this is Tim. Hello?
To change the start time at Northfield Elementary School.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Jim,
I already asked it.
does anyone have
has-
any questions this evening
Abby
as
has-
part of the discussion for the change in the start time?
Abby has her hand up.
Okay. Abby,
So I'm wondering how with,
go ahead, Abby.
I'm wondering how the transportation of children from Warwick and the timing of that is going to work out with this change. So I know a lot of them are going to have longer bus rides, and I know we don't have the full transportation piece with COVID, but doing the high school run and then that run, does that leave enough time to get those kids to school on time? I know there were some issues with the Leiden buses being late this past year.
So I'm in discussion with Pam. We're actually meeting with Warwick on Monday to discuss the transportation issue with Pam from Kosmeskis. So I don't foresee this time change will have that impact of having the students late. We're actually making sure that we get the students on time and they're picked up on time. And we're coordinating that with Pam from Kosmeskis right now. So we do have a discussion on Monday with Warwick and about transportation. So that'll all. But Pam from Kosmeskis feels pretty confident. I mean, this won't affect anything on her end or the busing as far as students not being to school on time.
Can I add to that briefly? This is
Sure.
Megan.
So
Go right.
thank you. The start time represents the time that the doors open, and not everybody arrives at exactly that moment or enters the building at exactly that moment. So we do have a 9 o'clock, so the arrival time is between 8:50 and 9, and then students are marked tardy after 9, whereas currently it's 9:05. So it's just a shift of 5 minutes, but there is still that 10-minute window of arriving and making everyone's way to their classrooms and such. I will add, this would be for a typical start of the year and sort of moving forward. So again, we're aligned with Bernardston, but we also know that there may be some adjustments that are needed in any of our school schedules to accommodate safe entrance and exiting during the COVID period of time. So this would be sort of moving forward, and in the future when things are normal, 8:50 would be our start time moving forward.
Thank you, Megan, for that
Thanks.
information. Is there any other discussion before we take it to a vote? Okay, I don't hear anyone speaking. So we will go down the line again. If you can just say your name after I call you and your vote, please. So Pat?
Oops. That's Sherry, yes.
Seth?
Seth Kratz, yes.
Mike?
Mike Townsley, yes.
Jim?
Jim Bell, yes.
Abby?
Abby Pratt, yes.
Karen?
Karen O'Neill, yes.
David?
David Young, yes.
Jess?
Jessica Marshall, yes.
And Kristen Gonzalez, yes. So that vote passes as well. So just a couple things, because this has been brought up during our conversation. John, could you speak a little bit about the COVID, since it's been brought up in our discussion regarding the fall?
Yes, yeah. So as you know, on June 25th, Governor Baker's office and the Department of Ed released their initial guidance about the reopening in the fall. So our district, we formed 2 planning committees to review the guidance and prepare 3 different reopening models. The Pioneer Regional School Planning Committees focus on the middle and high school, and the elementary school planning committees focus on Northfield and Bernardston elementary schools. We're also going to have at elementary schools subcommittees formed to work out specific details in each elementary school, because the buildings themselves obviously are different, as well as for early childhood. And we know that guidance didn't address every topic, and there'll be additional guidance coming, throughout the summer. We still have to hear back about sports and whether that's going to happen, and how the transportation piece is going to look, how many students are going to be allowed on the bus, and how they're going to be seated. So there's still a lot coming, but we have been working on 3 different reopening plans. And so as we're developing these 3 separate plans, obviously one's for a return to full in-person instruction with safety requirements, one's for full remote learning, and one's a hybrid learning that combines in-person and remote learning. Right now, based upon the current medical situation, Massachusetts is doing very well compared to most other states in our area. So the expectation today is that we're hoping that we can bring students back to a full return in person in September. However, that's subject to change upon the medical situation, how that develops. Parents can opt to have their students work remotely. Even if we do say that we're going to go to a full in-person model, they can choose to have their students stay home and out of school and and work remotely, and the school district will provide that remote learning to those students, and we would be responsible for attendance and things like that. Yesterday afternoon, I did receive the document that DESI's been telling us they were going to send to us, which is basically a template. It's a document that provides an overview of a two-step process for the district reopening plan submissions. And there's an online form for the preliminary plan, which is due on July 31st. So this two-step process, step one, by July 31st, the districts must complete and submit preliminary reopening plan summary to DESI. Districts will fill out an online form that consists of two parts. The form will allow DESI to collect key summary information about districts' reopening models and then other planning considerations. So that's what we have to have into DESI by July 31st. Then by August 10th, step two, the district has to finalize their comprehensive plan documents and submit them to DESI. And then at that point, we'll release them, publicly to the communities. The additional time will provide districts with an opportunity to incorporate changes, based on additional guidance that DESI may put forth between now and then. And we'll work with the school committee because there's maybe some policy questions relevant to the final plan before submission. And so we'll be bringing those plans, and we'll get those to you ahead of that school committee meeting sometime before August 10th. And we know there's going to be a lot of questions, more questions probably than answers at this time, but we'll try to, continue to communicate as we move forward. But that's right now that there's a two-step process. And we'll bring everything forward to the school committee before August 10th for their review. And then just really quick, if I can run through, I know some school committee members have asked me in the past about how.
All right, thanks, John, for that update. The other thing I was going to ask is, go ahead.
Do you want me to just update quickly on like preschool? Because I just, I pulled up everything today on what we have currently for this coming year, because I know that was a question of preschool families were going to send their students, to school in the fall if we were having in-person schooling. So right now at Bernardston, I have my chart up in front of me.
I can also comment on that as well. This is Kelly Carrier,
Okay.
Just because I've been working on the numbers myself and organizing students and stuff like that. Let me just go grab my phone. It has the document on it. Hold on one second.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Okay. I currently in Bernardston have had, for preschool, I have had 21 students who have signed contracts and paid their first deposit already. I had a slate for around 27 that were estimate. One of those students has moved to Northfield. And then the other 4 or 5, I have not received any information back in regards to their contract portion. So as of right now, 21 are in preschool and are confirmed and have paid their deposits. So I feel pretty confident that 21 are good to go to start our school year. As for kindergarten students, let me just count really quickly.
Great, thanks.
I have 23 for kindergarten students right now. And again, I'm having, just like with all the grades and stuff like that, I am currently having a student move in and or register every 3 days for various grades. So at the start of this, I already had 2 kindergartners this past week kind of look at coming in and looking at additional paperwork as well. There are about a small handful, maybe about 4 or 5 other kindergartners.
Thank you very much, Kelly, for those numbers.
And Megan, I don't know if you have the Northfield numbers, but I have them if you don't in front of you. Do you
I have not received any preschool information recently. I know that that's being discussed between Kristen and Brenda and such. So you can certainly share those. Our kindergarten numbers were 22 back a couple months ago and have remained the same up to this point. So we have 22 kindergartners that we're anticipating for the fall.
And in preschool, we have 15 that I have confirmed that have paid their deposits and registered. I don't know if anybody has any additional questions.
Did you
John,
say 15, John, 1-5?
Yeah, the numbers I were provided today were 15 at Northfield Elementary.
Kristen, could I just ask John for some information requests?
Okay,
Yeah, right.
perfect.
John,
Thank
if John, it would be, I think, helpful maybe from here on out till school starts to maybe provide us with a weekly update, just a quick email, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday every week until then, because of what's going on, just so that the school committee is abreast of any changes or anything that may come up that we may be able to help with.
Okay, will do.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question in response to Mike's comment? This is Megan, sorry.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Mike, just for clarification, are you asking for a weekly update in terms of enrollment numbers for all 3 schools? Or are you looking for updates on the COVID planning?
Previously, when we had discussed in the discussion part before we voted on the student enrollment, it would be nice that monthly that we are updated, at least up until maybe the end of October, so we know who we have in our school, after the school, especially after school starts, just for totals, just as an informational thing. I mean, the school committee, we should know what we have for students, just so we can maybe think ahead. Maybe if there's funds that become available that we would be more inclined to say, hey, this money's here. We could probably provide the students with something. With the request from John, that's more of a COVID situation to keep us up to speed between now and when school starts, so we know where we're at and how the planning is going, so that the school committee's up to speed every week instead of waiting until a school committee meeting or 6 days prior to and getting a packet and trying to get up to speed then. I just like to know what's coming so we can plan or at least be thinking about it. And if we have questions, we could send the questions to John or Tanya or the principals prior to the meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a problem.
Thank you.
And the other thing I just wanted to touch upon too is, I know that everyone has been asked to do more work and that things have changed during this time of COVID, but I do want to revisit the 6th grade study. It is a commitment that we made to the district and to the community to do that. And I know that COVID came in and sort of put a stop, or I'm going to call it a pause. But we do need to resume that. We did have a time schedule set out when we initially started this study. So John, please, we need to have that continue, and we need to continue to explore that, because we did tell the community we would have information for them and decision for them as well. So I want to be respectful of people's times, but this is something that we also have to continue to complete. It's just part of our job and what we said we were going to do.
Yeah, no problem. We'll continue that.
Great, thank you. And before we end the meeting, I just want to give the floor to Claire Brennan because she had something that she wanted to share with everyone.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we were able to plant the tree for Sue Wood. It's in the front of the office, close to where Kathy Hawkins Harrison's office is. We were not able to get permission from the group, from the school committee. But Sharon Fontaine, who's not here, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, but I will, said go ahead and plant it so that it doesn't die. And we got permission from Kevin Seaman as to where to put it, so we weren't, you know, invading any electrical lines or water or plumbing or anything like that. So it's there. We're hoping that we can dedicate it in the fall to, you know, her family once we know that the tree's going to live.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that, Claire.
Thank you, Claire. And thanks to everyone for doing that. I think that's a really kind sentiment to plant a tree in her honor. So thank you to all those who.
It was Karen and Jake Browning. He brought equipment to dig the
So
hole.
we have nothing else to discuss this evening on our agenda, so we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank. All right, adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.